You're listening to Tromedy, the podcast that helps you transmute your trauma with comedy. It's therapeutic humor. I'm Nancy Norton. I'm a comedian, a registered nurse, and a keynote speaker. I go around and share the good news about humor, how it will help you move out of a state of overwhelm and into a state of manageability. Also, it's so great for creative problem solving, health, and all kinds of other benefits. This is peer-to-peer sharing. I love having guests on. I learn something every episode, and I hear from you, the listeners, who are also learning and offering to be a guest and share your wisdom. This is how we grow exponentially when we share wisdom with each other. You might relate to this episode if you had anything different about you or different about your family than the quote-unquote traditional family. This week's guest is a writer, a comedian, whose humor arose early in life to help her cope with being bullied for having an older dad, and then also helped her deal with losing her dad in her 20s. Welcome to Tromedy. My guest this week is Rebecca Robinson. I love the alliteration. Welcome, Rebecca.
Hi. Thank you. My middle name's an R too.
Oh, what is it?
It's Rose.
Oh, it's beautiful. Rebecca Rose Robinson. And my dad was a pirate. Arr. Okay. I mean,
I had a preschool teacher who would do that, and now, like, retrospectively, I think it's creepy. He'd be like, grrr.
Oh, she would do it like that. It was
a man, yeah.
Oh, he would do it like a row.
Yeah.
Oh, that is creepy. I was doing a pirate. Arr, matey.
No, yours was good. Yeah, yours was good. But he would just kind of go off on that, and for years recently I just was like, I think that was bad.
Yeah, now that I look back on how it made my stomach feel. Yeah. Well, Rebecca, thanks for your interest in Tromedy, and thanks for listening and giving me feedback. Can you just share? I'm just curious. We haven't even talked, but is there any episode or anything that kind of went, oh, that, like, did you learn anything or anything spark or anything that pops to your mind? No pressure.
I mean, I think one thing that's really important that's being showcased is that trauma can look like anything. Like, so many people have such vast different experiences that have an imprint on their lives. And some person may see it as trauma, and the person who experienced it, identifies it as trauma. And so it's interesting to see how we all identify with things and how we all kind of know what is and what isn't, and then have someone else's perspective on it.
Hey, yeah, thanks for acknowledging that, because it's very much the person who experienced the trauma. It's up to you to say, was that trauma? And yes. I think there are definitely clinical definitions of PTSD and complex PTSD.
I mean, I have both, but not from, what we're going to talk about, or I have complex PTSD, but from other things.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So you have a nice variety. You have a nice sampling of trauma.
Yeah, no, I have a melange of trauma, but I think it's such a word that's like in the zeitgeist that's kind of more lighthearted now than the clinical definition.
And not to minimize if it's being overused. Let's talk about our friendship, because as I recall, and tell me if I'm wrong, I recall meeting you in Boulder at a little open mic, perhaps in 2018, when I was getting ready for Boston Comedy Festival, and I was trying to practice doing 5-minute sets in different settings so that I could get the beats down, because I hadn't been doing it.
You could win.
I was not even planning on winning, but I wanted to do well, that's for sure. And I was like, I just want to learn how to do a tight 5. So is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I think maybe we met like prior to that, but I think that's when our friendship formed, like when we became more than just people standing in the same room. Because I remember you helped me with forming my opener. That was my opener until like last year, basically, because I was having like not an issue, but I just needed to calm down when I first got on stage. And you kind of helped me workshop this bit where you were like, oh, what if you say this instead? And I was like, genius. And then it was my opener. So
And it worked.
yeah. So you were very helpful.
That makes me feel good because people have helped me. And there's something about I love working with comedians on stuff because we can't see it. We get too close to it sometimes. It's so nice to have fresh pair of eyes, or in my case, at least one eye on the subject and go, hey, what if this? I love that. I love that with comedians that we can help each other.
I think collaboration it makes people stronger. I mean, in almost every aspect of life, but especially in comedy.
Yeah, co-creativity is so fun and things that you would never get to on your own. And so thanks for being a co-creator of helping ourselves, first of all. I mean, that's my mission statement, help heal myself and others. And Eric Henderson said last week something profound, which maybe everybody already knew this, but I didn't, because I've been trying to heal others. And he's like, I think you can only heal yourself. What do you think about that?
I agree with that to a certain extent. I think in order to truly help heal others, I mean, you have to heal yourself. You have to be willing to heal yourself. And I think the more healed you are as an individual, the more healing energy you're putting out into the world that others can receive and then do their own work with. I don't think that an individual can heal another person, but I think that you can help kind of give that person legs to stand on to start their process.
Oh, beautiful. And that's a lot what 12-step programs do. I always say kind of provide this scaffolding, but also what just came to me was that we can extend that, like connect each other with that healing energy. Like maybe I can be the conduit that brings the healing energy to another person. And then if they want it, I just have to really make sure they want it and not force it.
No, I think I don't, please don't say that, because I think by, first of all, you having this intention to do that in itself is beautiful and puts good energy into the world, but also by having this podcast that people can listen to and share and resonate with. Like you said, like if someone's listening to this and they go, oh, I have a similar experience, maybe I should take a look at that. Maybe I should dive deeper. Like, I think that is exactly what's happening.
Thanks, Rebecca. And I keep saying, I'm going to repeat myself because, hey, what else have I got to do? The buoyancy that I always feel like humor gives me, this buoyancy that allows me to dive deeper and deeper, to do the deeper work, because I know I have the resilience of humor that I will pop back to the surface and I'm not going to drown down there, or get stuck down there. And it's been a lifelong companion, and I'm so grateful for it. How about you? So when did you recognize humor as a helper in your life? Yeah,
I would say very, very young. I would probably say like around the third grade. When I started having severe awareness of morbidity and death, because I had my dad was much, much older. When he had me, he was almost 60. And so I learned through a pamphlet for a retirement home, kind of like, oh, dad might die soon. And so I suddenly was trying to catch up in the world with the idea of like, well, if things are funny, then they're not bad. Like if I'm able to deal with this and make jokes and, even going through, high school and middle school and getting bullied and being able to reflect it on myself and be like, well, there is some humor to what they're saying, or like there's humor to the situation that someone is saying this and really this is happening to them. Like, I think I've been unintentionally, and I hate being like, I'm funny, but but I do think I've been like unintentionally funny and leaning on humor for a majority of my life, just because, like you said, you bounce back and it's something that is it's a shift in perspective.
Definitely.
Like whether it's intentional or not, it's a way to look at things with a different lens.
Yeah, I think it's a very organic process that we come to it, or like you said, unintentionally, it just happens kind of like out of necessity, or kind of like a sneeze, or a or breathing, like, you know, like
survival tactic.
It's a survival. It is a survival tactic. And it's almost like you didn't learn, I didn't learn this till I think nursing school, that when you grimace, it releases endogenous morphine. Like, and so does smiling, the same motion with your face. If you make that face, if you like squeeze your teeth and grimace, that somehow signals your brain to release painkillers, endogenous morphine. And so the same with laughter. It releases endorphins, which is an endogenous, that we make morphine in our bodies. We have these healthy opiate receptors that help kill pain. So humor kills pain, and it's painful. Yeah. I mean, that is the original pain, isn't it, of the human condition, I think, when we realizing that we have this mortality. And you're in third grade, so you're probably 7 or 8 at the most. 7, probably.
8.
7 or 8.
Yeah, maybe 7 or 8, yeah.
That's about the age when kids can understand the concept of death. And then your dad would have been at that time 67 or 68. And then where was this pamphlet? At your house? Like this retirement home?
So I remember it so vividly, and I don't remember a lot of things about my childhood or just in general because, like I was saying earlier, I have PTSD, so that sucks up memories. But I remember coming home from school and getting the mail, and there was a pamphlet for the retirement community in my town, and I read through it. What I understood from it was, this is where you went before you died. When I didn't understand that my dad had autonomy over going there or not. Like, I didn't understand if you were just sent there or not, or you got to choose. So when I read it, I kind of collapsed in my entryway of my house and was crying, thinking like, oh, my dad's going to be sent away because this pamphlet says he's dying soon.
Oh, wow. And I can see that through a third grader's mind, because look, it's like when you're 5, you go to kindergarten. When you're 6, you go to first grade. And it's just, all these things are mandatory. We didn't get any choice. And I can see where you're like, okay, when you're at that age, 60, whatever, you maybe didn't even know, but of retirement age, you go to the retirement home, and then that's the last towards death. Wow, that's heavy.
Yeah.
And I know now, like, I'm in my 60s now, so there's a part of me chuckling like, oh shit, 60s. Because I do a lot of jokes about, decomposing while alive. But because I am dealing with the
I mean, that's what L'Oreal products are for.
Oh my God. And all the facelifts But to a kid, 60s, like my grandmother, that was my grandma. The first age I remember her being was 64. And so I think she's about the same difference in age, like maybe 6. Yeah, she was about 60 years older than me. That felt old when I was a kid, 64 felt really old. Now I'm going to be 63 next week. Hello.
Oh my God, happy birthday.
Thanks.
Every year on my birthday, I just say to myself, you made it another year. You survived.
Way to go. Yeah. I'll clap for that. So you were very aware, and probably like I'm 44 years older than my son. So when I would pick him up from preschool, they'd go, is that your grandma? And that's what I wrote my college essay on. Was it called, is that your grandpa?
Yeah, something similar. Well, people always thought that when my parents would go out to eat, because my parents have a large age gap, that my mom was his daughter and I was his granddaughter. And so they'd always be like, oh, Elliot, you're out to dinner with your grandchildren. And we all would be like, nope, this is his nuclear family. Guess
again. And then, so that came up a lot for you guys. Now, I don't want to sidetrack you, but do you want to talk about that a little bit too? Like how to process when it's similar to like, when you have an adopted child, and obviously he's from a different heritage than I am. And so people just say things, they're curious, or they just make assumptions. And that's always an interesting, awkward, and I don't know, it's a task. It's actually a task, to be in public and not get pissed off.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's one of those things that like, I guess I subtly got used to it. Like by the time I was older, like by the time I was in high school, I was like, okay, this happens. But again, it's talking about the way other people view the world and the assumptions people make, and to constantly have to correct people when my dad is at a swim meet or, whatever was happening. I mean, I know it took a toll on my mom as well to always be thought of as, oh, maybe his daughter or some young, like, piece of tail, like, instead of like taken seriously as his wife. How do I phrase it? When people assume something about you, whatever it may be, I think it's a reflection of them and like how they've experienced the world so far. So if you're only seeing, people who are 63 years old with 5-year-olds and their grandchildren every single time, then it's going to be an anomaly that you meet a family where the dad is in his 60s and the children are, in elementary school. And so constantly having to correct people and, also having the exhaustion and kind of sometimes just being like, yeah, he's my grandfather, like brushing it off and being like, it's not even worth the explanation, like, or the breath to tell you what's going on.
Yeah. I was just thinking too, how it can kind of take you out of your own experience because you forget, like you're having just a dinner or you're just out at the park or whatever, and we're out with our family. Then for somebody to define it from their perspective, it would take me out of myself a little bit. Like, well, kind of like my lazy, I can do that. Honestly, I can be having a conversation and forget about it, and then somebody say, oh, are you talking to me? Or I don't know, something. I mean, it really, and then I'm like, oh yeah, I have a disfigurement. You know what? I forgot. I'm different.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. Oh, I forgot. We're different. Did you have that experience? Did it kind of take you out of yourself, or am I putting words in your mouth?
No, I mean, I think it's one of those things where you kind of question your existence. Like I would question my existence in the sense where I would be like, oh, is this wrong?
Oh.
Like, is I incorrect because of this? Are things not supposed to be this way? And the way that you're saying, like, your eye, like, takes you out of the moment when someone points it out. It's the same thing where you're like, oh, or it's a similar thing. I don't want to say it's the same, but it's a similar thing where you're going like, oh, now do I need to act a certain way because this is the circumstance and someone's figured it out or what have you?
Oh, I appreciate you saying that. Like, should I know my place in society? Should I now behave as though, oh yeah, you're better than me? Or I'm different, so I should have a little lower, I don't know, lower status in I don't know if that's what you meant, but I did feel like all of a sudden like, oh, I can feel more like a sense of equality now when it's just voice. But if I'm up next to your family or my family, like I am just a single mom, I'm not going to say that. I shouldn't even say just. I am a single mom. Yeah. I'm very proud to be a single mom. It's hard as fuck.
Hard.
but when you're in the elementary school directory, you think there are more single moms. I was just like, wow, there are not. I think there was one other actual single mom in the directory. Surprising. Yeah. Like I'm like, oh, I'm the lone duck. Like there's always that spot where you have to write NA for the father's information, not applicable. So when you were saying, tell me what you meant, I kind of jumped in like, well, that's how I think I sometimes jump to my low self-esteem or lower status. But what about you? When
I second that. I think there's like this feeling of like being lesser than. I guess I am supposed to be a certain way and I can't reach that because this is how I am in my circumstance. And, it's one of those things where like, even now when I see a dad playing with his kids in the pool or something, like a young father playing with his kids in the pool and being like, oh, my dad like didn't do that. Like he was kind of over that part of his life by the time that he had us. And I'm not saying that he didn't want my brother and I'm saying that like he was already old. Like he had lived this jubilant life already. So when I see that now and have seen it my whole life, there's a envy, I guess, that kind of strikes me where I'm like, oh, like, is that what was supposed to happen? Is that what it was supposed to look like? And how does that feel? You know, how do those people feel?
That they had like a parent playmate kind of person.
Yeah.
My parents weren't like that either, even though they were just 33 years older than me. It was like they were old 33-year-olds. I can't explain it, but my parents, like they were never on a bicycle. You know, they were just, they weren't the kind to go out and like play catch or they did play we played card games and stuff like that. But what about, you know what I would love to hear? I mean, although I don't want to skip over you needing to grieve or to acknowledge and just like, okay, I didn't get that. And when I see someone else have that, there's a part of me that grieves that, you know, that grieves that lack of that experience. I don't know. Or did it create a lack that wasn't there just because other kids, I just don't know. But do you feel like you've had to grieve that?
Yeah, I do. There's an Amanda Bynes movie called What a Girl Wants, where she discovers she has a dad. Her whole life, she's been a caterer at weddings, seeing father-daughter dances. And she's always thought to herself, I'll never have a father-daughter dance. And I love this movie. It's an Amanda Bynes classic.
Okay, I got to check it out.
But when I never connected with that idea because I've never really connected with the idea of marriage, which is like a huge theme. And then more recently, as I've been attending more weddings and seeing father-daughter dances, I'm like, I am Amanda Bynes. Like, I'm like, oh, I don't get to experience this thing that happens, but, you know, like it unfortunately, it is what it is. It is the scenario that I've been placed in. So I think there's a lot of different types of grief that come along with with my father. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. I hadn't thought about the father-daughter dance. I'm sorry you won't get to have that. And I know you're saying you're not really marriage like that's not your
it's
thing, but just the fact that you cannot have that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Before we talk about the loss of your father, because I know he has passed, and that's why you're saying that you don't get to have.
Sorry.
No, I mean, I know.
Spoil the rest of the podcast.
Is he still with us? Okay, stay tuned.
Yeah.
And he probably is in some form. I don't know. I'm very spiritual. I'm sure I annoy people with my spirituality, but
I mean, we both lived in Boulder.
Right? Oh. But I was curious about some of the special things that an older father might have that a younger father doesn't. Like, do you ever compare with friends about your dad? I don't know, having different perspective, or maybe because he's more evolved as a person or more, developed as a human. I don't know. I was just curious what might be what are the silver linings of having an older father?
Well, so my dad was born in 1935, which seems like a lifetime ago. There's a few things that I take away from that. When I was in school, every time I learned a new event in history, I would subtract the year that the event took place and then find out how old my dad was when it was happening. And I found, he was alive for so much. So many things happened. I mean, he was from Savannah, Georgia, and he was Jewish. And he went to a segregated school, and he was called things like a dirty Jew and like much worse. And so he was alive during the Holocaust. Like it's one of those crazy things where he experienced so many different types of struggles that I don't think can be replicated today. I mean, obviously racism is still rampant and, we're still at war with so many people, but I think struggles back in the 1930s and 40s and really up until aughts. You can't duplicate. And so like my dad, he loved to read from Poor Richard's Almanac.
Oh, I don't know Poor Richard's Almanac.
So Poor Richard's Almanac was under one of Ben Franklin's pseudonyms. So it was one of his books, and it kind of would predict like the weather, and it was for farmers originally. So it would say like it's going to be dry this season, and here's when it's going to be wet. But it also had wisdom in it. So it had things like early to bed, early to rise makes a young man healthy, wealthy, and wise.
Oh, and that was and then the Farmer's Almanac was based on that?
This was in the Farmer's Almanac. So these kind of things were embedded within it.
But is it published every year? Like there's the Farmer's Almanac?
Yeah. So I believe so. Because
there's a different pattern of weather or something and what to expect this year in the Farmer's Almanac. But when Ben Franklin was an author, was he the original, like Poor Richard's Almanac was the original Farmer's Almanac?
Yeah. And so my dad had all of these like sayings that, and I'm trying to think of more that come to mind because I think of them all the time in real life. But he would have all of this like old wisdom of like, I mean, not even like, and this doesn't come from the almanac, but when I was going on spring break, my freshman year of college, I was going to Panama City Beach, which I do not advise anyone go to ever. It is an awful place.
Is it near Pensacola, Florida? Panama City?
It's on the Panhandle.
Yeah.
And that's all I know.
Okay, now I had good experiences there, but we could compare and contrast.
I went to like an MTV spring break version.
Oh no, we just went on family vacations, but I always remember the white powder sand was so nice, and
I couldn't.
Anyway.
Nancy, I was so drunk the whole time I couldn't tell you a thing about the beach.
Okay, so you're talking about the milieu of spring break. Okay.
Yeah, and so I told my dad, this is where I'm going on spring break, and my dad was like, "Oh, I went on spring break there when I was in college." He went to University of Alabama. He said to me, "Rebecca, whatever you do, don't drink the moonshine. It'll make you go blind." And I just looked at him so perplexed because I was like, no one's drinking moonshine ever. And also, like, you guys were drinking something so incredibly strong and like unregulated that you were going blind from it. Like,
oh my gosh.
Insanity.
Was he speaking metaphorically and kind of being funny?
No, not metaphorically at all. Very serious. Like,
okay.
And I was so just like, what is this? What are you even saying? Like, and so a lot of his life experience didn't apply any longer.
Oh man, outdated wisdom.
Yeah, lots of outdated wisdom. And so, like we would go swimming for gym class and then have to walk a few feet back to our class in the snow in the winter. And, my dad would be like, well, you can't do that because you're going to get the flu and die. Like, because if your hair is wet in the cold, it's like, yeah, there's a little truth to that, but not to the extent that you're saying. Like,
yeah, now we have antibiotics if I get pneumonia. My dad was born in 1927, and I would love to share, just to shout out. Let's do a shout out to our dads here because my dad, 3 or 4 things, but some of the old phrases, like when I was on this HOA board, and I was thinking of that while I was running today for some reason, and I have a tendency to speak truth to power, and I was not popular on the board, and I was trying to get them to reduce the responsibilities of our property management guy. Like, just let him do the property. Don't let him do the policing, because he was being really abusive with some of our residents. And I was like, this is not okay, the way he's talking to people. And so anyway, they didn't like me. And then they started, my dad said they're railroading you. Because that's kind of an old term. He goes,
absolutely.
They're railroading you off, because I called him for advice, and my dad was not one to give advice. He would listen, and then his saying was, instead of saying whatever, he would go, ever what? And then you had to figure it out. But sometimes he would just reflective back and say, okay, so they're railroading you and it's really a matter of how much can you take. And then that was your decision to figure out. He's not going to tell you what to do. But I always appreciate that about my dad. And the other thing I just want to say, that when I was in Nepal adopting my son, it was a long story, but they were trying to force me to sign for another child at a different orphanage. I mean, that my gut said, this isn't right. There's something wrong here. This orphanage it just did not feel right. And I was asking a lot of questions about this child's history and family. And they ended up yelling at me, we will tell you who is an orphan. And I was like, I don't have a good feeling. And there's this huge long holiday in October called the Design Holiday. And they're like, you must sign before the holiday. It was that high pressure sales feeling. And I emailed my dad. I can still remember where I was when I wrote this email, just sitting at this internet cafe. And he wrote back, that simple line, like, when in doubt, don't. And it was, and I just thank him because that child was not meant for me to adopt, and all roads led to Biswas. And I don't know, I'm just thankful for every now and then dropping a little pearl of wisdom, even though it might be a cliche. Turns out, when in doubt, don't, is another Ben Franklin line. So my dad probably also read Poor Richard's Almanac. I guess everybody else in the world knows what Poor Richard's Almanac is but me. Okay, I did not always do my homework. Anything like that with your dad where, hey man, I get there's some things were outdated, but were there other times where you just felt advice that was solid I mean,
one of the most solid pieces of advice that has been coming into my life a lot lately and just in general is a penny saved is a penny earned.
Yeah, that sounds like a Ben Franklin one too, doesn't it?
Yeah. And it's just the idea of like, if you're keeping track of things, like a penny like it just makes so much sense to me and has really been saving my ass lately with budgeting, where I'm like, no, like if I keep this, I earned this. Like this is mine. And
you're living in New York where you can spend a lot of money in New York really fast.
Yeah, if you go outside, they actually just take $23 away from you.
Just walking out the door.
Yeah.
That's the tax. That's the tax of the sidewalk tax or something.
Exactly.
Wow. And where are you? You're in Brooklyn or?
I'm in Brooklyn. I'm in Williamsburg, so northern Brooklyn.
I don't know if that well to know where Williamsburg is, but is it nice?
I really like where I am. I'm 2 blocks away from a park. I'm 2 blocks away from the water. I can see the skyline from my roof of the Empire State Building. And I feel really lucky to be where I am. I looked all over Brooklyn. And when I found the spot that I currently reside, I was like, this is it.
Oh, I'm so happy for you that sounds lovely to be close to water, a park, views. That sounds so nice. There's something about being around water that is supposed to be a natural antidepressant.
Oh, it's so healing. Yeah.
Yeah. You're using comedy. Let's talk about your bit.
I just want to say that when choosing a clip for this podcast, I realized that there's a lot of things I wish I had material on or tighter material on to present. And then I realized that this kind of tiny eensy chunk about my dad is good and fits what the profile for the podcast is. I think losing my dad was really difficult, and I sympathize with everyone who's lost a parent. It changes your life, whether you're close to them or not, I assume. But there's so many things in my life where I'm like, oh, like I need to write a joke about that because I am still healing from that. And there are things I do find funny about it. And a lot of my bits are, a lot of my material that I've written has been about, like, I have a lot of material about some abusive ex-boyfriends that I've had. And I like the material, but it's just not as strong as it could be. And I like these jokes about my dad more because I feel like they are lighthearted and silly and also honest, very honest.
Yeah. And and healing. Like it really is dealing with a very deep loss in a very silly way. And I mean, that's a range right there.
Yeah. And I think, you know, they also came organically. And so I think that kind of presents its own kind of, I appreciate them for that as well, because that when he first died and was also in the process of dying, he died of Parkinson's. I would go up at mics and I would just say stuff that was the least like, I might as well have been in a grave saying it instead of into a microphone. Like it was so terribly unfunny because I didn't have the looking glass to really break it apart and deal with it because it was still so fresh.
So raw and so in it. Yeah.
I think there are magical moments where you can be raw and also hit the jackpot on a bit. But I think with time, material becomes stronger just in general. And when you're processing something and healing from something, your material can become stronger because of that.
Yeah. And I really appreciate too, the organic part you mentioned, because I was just talking to somebody else about bits that I have on Instagram that I have honed over the years down to, you know, the syllable, 49 likes or something, or 3, I don't know. But then like something where I just go off on something on stage, it's like that authentic raw share sometimes is what really connects with people.
Yeah.
And they crave that. I think we all crave it. That, like you said, the truth, the authentic connection.
Yeah. Jonathan Winters said, just tell the truth and people will laugh. That's one of my favorite quotes.
I love Jonathan Winters.
Yeah, I love Jonathan Winters as well. And I just think that's very true. I think obviously there's so many different types of comedy, but I think in some form or another, people are telling their truths, whether they're absurdists or one-liners in some way, or just conventional, you know, punchline comics. I think in some way, a string of truth in there. And that if it's a good joke, if it's a good chunk, if it's a good special, it's built on something real.
I'm going to hit play. Let's just see if this plays. Hang on a second.
All right, let's do it.
I have a dead dad, and I keep his ashes in a thermodynamic Ironman mug because he was a very frugal triathlete. He be proud. Don't worry, he's not in the mug alone. He's in a Ziploc bag. He's in a bunch of Ziploc bags. I'm selling dime bags to my dad after the show. I did try to get to know him better, so I bought a Ouija board, which was cool because when he was alive, so dyslexic. It's like, oh, you learned how to read in the afterlife for me? But then I remembered my dad was a Jew who didn't believe in the afterlife, and I was like, who the fuck have I been talking to? Turns out, just some dead guy who likes being called daddy.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. And I need to understand, there's a couple of words up front that I sort of lost. That's like where you're saying, I have a dead dad, and then he's in a thermos? No.
Thermodynamic Ironman mug.
He's in a thermodynamic Ironman mug. And
yeah.
And then did you say something about a triathlon? Is that?
Because he was a very frugal triathlete. Because Ironman is a huge triathlon around the country and world.
Yeah. Was he a triathlete?
Yeah, he did. Well, he was a huge triathlete in general, but he completed 7 world championship Ironmans.
Wow.
And 12 half Ironmans, and then just a bunch of random triathlons. And then he did the Boston Marathon, the New York Marathon. You name it, he did it. He ran, bike, and swam every damn day.
Wow. I have goosebumps all over. What an athlete. What a super athlete.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, and then such a crime that he got Parkinson's.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, because he really could have outlived you. I mean, had he not gotten Parkinson's.
So healthy. Yeah,
he would. So unfair. Oh, yeah. I'm so sorry. Gosh, because Yeah, he's a young, like, I was a marathon runner. I never did a full triathlon. I went to Kona. I used to live in Hawaii, and I went over there. I went over and watched these guys. I mean, they were just, I was in awe. I might have even watched your dad. I might have watched your dad compete in this.
Yeah.
What was his name?
His name's Elliot Robinson.
Elliot Robinson. Wow. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm in awe. You don't understand. I used to watch every year ABC News.
No, I mean, it's a big deal. World Championship ones, I mean, he did 7 of those, and they're in Kona, and they're brutal. The wind is intense. You're swimming in an ocean.
Open ocean, 2.5 miles of swimming.
Yeah. And you're waking up before the sun has risen, and you're finishing the race after it's been dark for hours. I mean, people get blown over in the wind on their bikes. It is a crazy race. I think my dad was absolutely psychotic.
Well, there's something in him that was really driven. I mean, he was driven. You have to be driven to push yourself. You want to push, like the Iron Man pushes the body to the max. Yeah.
I mean, he really, I mean, I'm not exaggerating when I say he ran, bike, and swim every day. He would take like 2 days off every year, maybe. So, like growing up, when we would maybe go on vacation, it would always be to somewhere where he could run, bike, and swim. And, every day, just growing up in Aspen, he would, run, bike, and swim every day. And his social circle was built around that. His friends were people who he could do those things with. And, I mean, I asked him, during his demise, there's not a better word. I can't think of a better word.
Yeah.
But when he was dying, I asked him, like, did you enjoy doing these triathlons? Did you enjoy running, biking, swimming every day of your life? Like, were you passionate? Because I was talking to him about comedy, actually. I was saying, I love this. I feel this like fire. I feel so passionate about this. Like, is that how you felt about, doing Ironmans? And he said, no, not really. And I said, what? You're crazy. Why would you do that then? Why would you put your body through that and your mind? And, and he just said, it's something I had to do to stay alive. And so for me, like, I heard that as like, he needed to get some sort of anxiety, some sort of pain, something out. And the only way to do it was physically.
I relate to that. I actually relate to that. And I've heard, I can't remember what comedian I heard did a joke like, I would have run a marathon, but I haven't been through a divorce that bad. But there is something with the movement. And I do know for me, I just was telling you, I just went on a run just before this, but it does get stuck energy out. And I don't know, it is something to move. Wow. So it was like he had to do it.
He had to do it. And, I mean, it really, I mean, it interrupted a lot of my childhood, but I did get to see him do an Ironman, when I was little. I think I was in the 4th grade. We woke up when he woke up and said goodbye, good luck. And then we waited at the finish line. We wore clown wigs and had huge signs so he could see us. And then my brother and I, it was very special. We got to hold hands and cross the finish line with my dad.
Oh, do you have a picture of that?
Yeah, I do. It's actually in my apartment.
Can you share that with us? Yeah, I want to post that with this episode because it's like kind of Tromedy in a nutshell, the two little clowns running with this very, serious, hardworking man and your dad is, and he's full, like he's full of vitality. I mean, he's not an old, like to me, I was saying, my dad never was on a bicycle that I ever saw. And here's your dad, this amazing.
He was never old. Yeah. We had to take his bicycle. He was biking normally on his road bike. And then he switched to we had to switch him to a beach cruiser, and then we switched him to a stationary beach cruiser, and then we finally had to take his bike away. And it was really fucked up. Like, it was something like tearing off a limb of his. But the thing about my dad too was he was so freaking funny, and had such a great sense of humor that it really it really helped push me and do this. And he was so supportive of me trying to do comedy and writing and being creative, because he himself, liked being funny. He was, I hate saying like when he was dying, but when he was dying, he was drinking Ensure shakes every day. And I said, Dad, we got to make a commercial. We got to make a fake commercial. And so my dad and I made this fake commercial where he just goes, Ensure, now my mouth's not so dry. And like just stupid stuff that he was just coming up with on the fly. He barely had a brain at this point, but he still was able to goof around.
Oh, that's so cool. I love that you also kind of riffed with him. Like, come on, Dad, let's make a commercial for Ensure.
Oh, yeah.
My mom also had Parkinson's at the end of her life. Have they figured out, like, did your dad ever have a theory of how, because there are some theories about pesticides and other things. I don't know. Did your dad have any?
No, but when they finally diagnosed him, they said, you've probably had this disease for the last 15 years. And we did the math, and that meant that he had Parkinson's when I was in the first grade, meaning my whole existence, he was living with Parkinson's. I mean, one of the characteristics of Parkinson's is your taste. You can't taste things. And he always attributed it to these antibiotics he took when he was younger. And in fact, it was the Parkinson's.
Yeah, they crave, my mom craved a lot of sweets.
Yeah, same with my dad.
And lots of, so needing more salt and sugar and things like that, or?
Yeah, I mean, there was just like little things that once we found out he had Parkinson's, we were like, oh, those were all behaviors of your Parkinson's. That wasn't your personality. That wasn't your, whatever. That was actually the disease. And yeah, like you said, it's very pervasive. I don't know how Michael J. Fox is still alive, but whatever they're doing to him, they should be doing to everyone.
Yeah, I don't know either. I haven't studied him as much. I know he has that wonderful, like the foundation and doing a lot of research. And it takes on a lot of different forms for different people. But someone like your dad, one of the best things you can do if you have Parkinson's is move. Like once you start moving, then you get more fluidity. Because I stay with my mom a few times, my other sister was taking care of her most of the time at the end. And then I would go and give her breaks. And the first steps in the morning are just so stiff. And then if she would move around, so maybe he masked it. He must have masked it because of all of his triathlon training. Huh?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I know we got off on the subject a little bit, but back to your Tromedy. So when you say he had say it again, the
thermodynamic Ironman mug, because he was a very frugal triathlete and he'd be proud.
Okay. So that you reuse something. That's the frugal part. Like a penny. And that's back to that penny saved is a penny earned. It's like, hey, this mug's right here. And I mean, actually it's really cool that you would, did you really put his ashes in a...
Oh yeah, I'm looking at it. I'll send you a picture of the mug in front of the photo of us running across the finish line so you can see it.
Oh, he loves this, I bet. I mean, again, I'm talking like I know people on the other side, but I feel he loves this, that you honor his, because even if he didn't, like you said, oh, that's your baby. I love your dog too. What's her name?
His name's Merv. Yeah.
His name's is a boy. Hey, Merv. Yeah. Does he need to go for a walk?
No, he's fine. He just... Did hurt one passing the hallway. He
just wanted to get in on the podcast.
Yeah.
Send a picture of Merv too, because every time I see Merv on Facebook, it lifts my spirit. He does have that sweet face that just like, I love you. He's a little heart melter. He is.
I mean, the thing about the mug is it is true. And it came from the place of, we spread his ashes in Aspen. We did a paddle out in Hawaii because that's where I'm also from. And then we divided the rest among my brother, my mom, and myself. And my mom got an urn, and I don't know where my brother stores his, but I looked at them and I was like, oh, they're thousands of dollars. Like, I don't have that kind of money. And then I just was like, oh, I'll just put it. I don't know what struck me, but I was like, oh, I'll just put it in an Iron Man mug. And the thing is, it has a clear top on it.
Oh, so you can have a peekaboo to the ashes.
So I have a ribbon in between the ashes and the top, because otherwise, but the bit, it kind of originated when I had this mug of my dad in my bedroom, and I had a new boyfriend over. Things started to steam up, and I looked at the mug and I was like, oh shit, my dad is in the room. I got a mug.
Yeah.
I was like, but I still have to stay sexy and just I can't say what's in the mug. I have to stay sexy and I have to get it out of here, kind of nonchalant. And so I was like, hold on, and and I moved this mug to my kitchen into a different room, and he was like, what was in that mug? Like, why'd you move that? He was like, why'd you move that mug? Like in the randomness of us hooking up, and and I had to be like, yeah, that's my dad.
I love it. I love that you tried. I think that's like a funny little sketch right there of ways of you trying to like slink up just 1 second. Yeah, I love it.
Instead of like, I need to change into something more comfortable, I was like, oh, this dead body.
I love that. I love that you shared that. Yeah, there is that thing like, I don't want to kill the mood, but I also need to take care of this situation.
Yeah, I was like, I can't have sex in front of my dad.
Maybe you should put it in like a little puppet playhouse with a little curtain that like show's over for now.
That's funny.
I love what you said too about, this is a great bit. And that all came to you organically. Like you said, your dad's in a bunch of baggies and you're selling dime baggies after this show of your dad.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite phrases to say, just because either people really get it or they don't get it at all. But the people who get it, I'm like, hell yeah. Like,
and the Ouija board, and your dad was dyslexic. And then, I don't know.
Yeah. All true.
All true.
I mean, I'll be honest. I didn't get a Ouija board during quarantine. I thought about it, but then I was like, I don't have anyone to do this with. So
yeah, there's got to be somebody on the other side.
You have to have someone else to do a Ouija board with.
Yeah,
so
Merv, come on, Merv. Put your paw.
Exactly.
Get your paw up here.
Train him how to Ouija. It's like, does your dog shake? No, but he knows how to use a Ouija board.
Oh, that's hilarious. And then we got your paws. We're going to,
exactly.
To connect with my paw.
He's just spelling out steak every time.
That's brilliant.
But yeah, so I mean, I'm sure you can identify with this because we were talking about like spirituality, but trying to connect to that higher self or higher whatever existence, what remains, and being like, how do I do that? Like, is there something that can facilitate that? Like, how do I plug into talking to my dad or experiencing that, saying he was, he didn't believe in the afterlife. And so it just was someone saying that I was calling daddy.
I love that.
And now that bit is actually, it's longer now. It's a little bit longer of a chunk, and I'm very grateful for that.
Oh man, this can go on. And I was thinking about the term sugar daddy versus a spirit daddy. Somehow I got a spirit daddy. My dad didn't believe in the afterlife either. He was just like, hey, when you're dead, you're 6 feet under. But then again, I have so many moments of connections with it, and whether it's real or imagined, I don't know, but it feels real that his consciousness is around.
Yeah. There's this ghost town in Aspen, or outside of Aspen, but it was a booming town during the silver boom. It was huge. It had 30,000 people, which in comparison, right now Aspen has 8,000 residents. So this ghost town now remains, and I go up whenever I'm home, I go up to Ashcroft, the ghost town, and I talk to the people in my life who I've lost, because I feel like they're with the ghosts.
Yeah, like the veil is thin over Ashcroft or something.
Yeah, exactly. There's something still there. And, I learned to, because it was really hard for me to connect. And I mean, it still is difficult. But one of the things that I do is I record a video of myself talking to my dad, and instead of being on the phone with him, it's like a phone call, but I'm just facing the camera. That's helped a lot.
Because you kind of are attuning with yourself when you're doing it. You're being both parts a little bit, it's happening, and there's
I'm projecting what I want back, and seeing, making meaning out of whatever I can make meaning out of. My dad died on October 18th, 2018. And 3 days later, I was emailing bookers in New York, and I planned a 10-day run in New York. Meanwhile, I was writing his obituary. And I'm emailing all these bookers, can I do your show? Here's when I'll be in town, and my dad just died. And I'm in the midst of writing sending his obituary out as well to a few different places, and I accidentally sent his obituary to a booker, and I sent my comedy email to the obituary people because I was just in such a haze of death.
Oh God.
I didn't get booked on the show. You would think at least a sympathy book, but no.
I know. I would have booked you.
Yeah, but I thought that was, I just found
that's
so
hilarious that you transpose those. And I'm so curious what the newspaper said back, or wherever, or the funeral home, or wherever you were sending the obituary. You want to open?
Oh yeah,
Gladys.
They were like, we're not a comedy venue. They were like, we don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, oh shit. That's how I figured out it was wrong, was because the newspaper emailed me, and then I went back to Facebook Messenger and I go, no.
I thought you were going to say, and now I'm playing funeral homes all across the nation.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm the opening act, and it's a thing. Somebody was telling me they have been booked at funerals, as a comedian or as a magician. Or, I don't know.
Nancy, I don't want to brag, but I killed at my dad's memorial.
Was that your best set?
It was such a good set. I mean, I really crushed among so many different demographics of people. And I was hosting it, and his friends are funny. And it was just one of those things where afterwards I looked at my mom and I go, she goes, that was really funny. And I go, yeah, it was. That was not supposed to be that, it wasn't supposed to be funny, but I don't know how else to be. And I think that goes back to what we're talking about, which is dealing with trauma with comedy. The only way I knew how to host a memorial service was to be and here's another joke.
Yeah. That whole range of Tromedy, from the dark to the light and back again. And it moved. There's a movement in it. And that, when you go from the proximity of gosh, this is this huge loss that just happened, and then having that release. Yeah, it's powerful.
I knew he wanted me to do comedy and follow my heart. So I was like, time to make it real and go to New York and try it out for the first time.
Fantastic. I'm so glad you did. And it's so fun to watch you grow as a comedian. I need to see you again. So you didn't know when you're coming back to Colorado. Is Aspen still a festival, or is there anything going on in Aspen?
No, unfortunately, COVID ended the festival. But they do still do some shows every once in a while up in Snowmass, which is about 10 minutes away from Aspen.
Oh, I've been working up there. I love doing the Snowmass, the collective at Snowmass.
The collective.
Yeah, I love that venue. I've had a lot of fun. Anything else you want to add today? The hour goes so fast.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for this, because talking about dead parents isn't something you like do at a bar with friends. I think it's just so beautiful when people are able to deal with different things with jokes and humor. And I feel really blessed that I'm finally able to write about my dad in a funny way.
Oh, yeah. That shows the healing has happened and some perspective and I don't know, just acceptance, I guess. And funny enough, though, last night I was in a bar talking about my mother's death. You know, and the fact that I killed her, it's complicated. She asked me to, so I did honor the call. But it's so funny. I wanted to say this. I have to share it. My mother, you know, because we had a lot of hard times and there's a lot of trauma there. But I mean, I loved her. I love my mother and I know she did her best. And my mother knew me so well. She was sort of psychic herself. And anyway, when she died, my older sister said, "Oh, and Mom wants you to write her obituary." And I was, you know, like, she knows she's going to force me to write nice things about her. And my son, one of his first jokes he ever wrote, "I like when you can swear inside of a word like obituary."
That's fun.
Anyway, there's something there. I gotta work on a bit about my.
You gotta buy that bit from him.
I did. Well, I know. I've paid for it. Believe me. But that I do need to do an obituary like joke, you know, or something, because my mother. It's just I know that was her last joke on me. It was like, okay, you gotta say really nice things. It's my memoir.
I mean, my dad left a list of things that he wanted in his obituary. And when my aunt read it, she was like, "Well, you forgot this on the list." And I was like, "Yeah, but do they really all need to be in there? Like, this is just, we're bragging at this point."
We have bullet points. We need to get the bullet points in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I have adored this conversation. I always love when people really will drop in and share. And you have so many ways of approaching things. I really appreciate that, Rebecca. I can tell you're very thoughtful. You've really thought about things from all kinds of different perspectives. And I mean, that is also one of the gifts of humor that gives us multiple perspectives.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk again, and then maybe I'll get to see you someday out there.
Yeah, come to New York.
I've never really played New York. I guess it's so inside. I've always heard you have to kind of really work at getting inside to do the rooms in New York.
You're Nancy frickin' Norton. You can do anything.
Yeah. Nancy frickin' Norton. That's what I'm going to change my name to. Well, thank you, Rebecca Rose Robinson. Seriously, thanks for doing Tromedy.
Of course. Thank you so much.
I want to thank my guest, Rebecca Robinson. You can follow Rebecca on Instagram at Becca Robs, BECCAROBS_. That's art. That's easy for me to say. That's Becca Robs. It sounds like she steals, but I know she doesn't. Becca Robs, BECCAROBS_. Check out Rebecca Robinson's website, BeccaRobs.com, where you can check out her Substack. You guys, I am so out of the loop on the Substack. Apparently, it's a great place to publish writing. Check out her writing on her Substack, BeccaRobs.com. I want to thank my son, Nathaniel Norton, for the podcast music. If you want to be a contributor to Tromedy, do you have skills that you want to share or wisdom you want to share? Did you have an experience? You don't have to be a comedian. Are you somebody who can guide us? We're all coping with trauma. I hope that you have a wonderful week. And remember, it's Tromedy with Nancy Norton. New episode every Tuesday.